going to start with the application of data analytics and GIS for water conservation. And in fact, this can be interpolated to anything, let's say forest or any other environmental aspects that we have. When we talk about data, what are the different sources of data that we currently have? So if you go to our government organizations, currently I'm based in US because I'm following my master's here. So these are the formats of data that's available with the US government currently. We can see it's XML, JSON, HTML, PDF, PNG, and all those things. At the end of the day, if you see, there's something called as ArcGIS. Now this organization controls 46% of the world's geospatial data service and map related products. In fact, even if you go on a government website that's for Indian government or US government, we'll see that most of the data, even in the form of XML, JSON, HTML, PDF, would be from one of the services provided by ArcGIS. So moving on, okay, this was just talking about formats and all those things. Now, in simpler terms, when we talk about water, all the data that we saw in the last slide is basically a geospatial data. What is geospatial data? It's data that belongs to a particular location and at a particular time. So whenever we talk about water, what are the different types of water data we have? It could be water quality. Again, when we talk about water quality, it's always associated at a particular date and at a particular location. Second thing would be groundwater. Again, groundwater has a particular date, particular location. Hence, whenever we talk about water, it's always a geospatial data. Hence, the need to analyze this geospatial data for water comes into the picture. Now, before we move into the analysis of this geospatial data, let's move to, okay, we have data. So do we want to jump into analysis? Is analysis the first thing we want to do? I would say, let's see, like, do we really have the data? And if we have the data, what we're doing with the data? So let's talk about developing nations. I come from India. As ma'am already mentioned, I worked with Dr. Bhakti Devi, who is basically, I would say, leading the Jal Smriti Organization Foundation. So I have quite some experience of using water and trying to analyze water in India. During this time, I basically realized one thing, like Indian government had started this movement called Digital India. So we had this website from Digital India for data. And we wanted to analyze Jaipur's water related data. We went to the website, we tried to search the data. What we found is at grassroots level, most of the data was missing. Like they did put out 4 files and folders out there, but the data was missing. Now, there could be multiple reasons for this. India is one of the largest country with such a huge population. It becomes very tough to collect data at the grassroots level, especially at village levels where because I worked with Ragdan, I know how difficult it is to even get the resources out there, tools out there to collect data. So that was one point. Now moving ahead, like we don't have data. That's one thing. Second thing, developed nations. I went to US government website to get data about water. There are huge amounts of data regarding water. So what? Like, what are we doing with this data? We have the concrete data, but what is happening with this data? Is the layman using this data? Is he aware of how to read this data? So there are two aspects. I don't see any difference between both this part. You don't have data, you do have data. What benefit it makes to the general public at the end of the day? How is general public using that information to make a change? Now, moving ahead. These are the various water ideas I think we all must be aware of because we have worked in the water areas. We have water leaks, drip detection apps. We have water quality apps. We have water usage analytical apps. We have groundwater analytical apps. We have rainwater forecasting and harvesting apps and websites. And many people are providing these services. There are thousands of apps out there. But at the end of the day, what's the visibility? What's the reach to the audience out there? If we go down, let's assume we walk on the street down, we ask the general public, are you using this app? What's the chance is going to say yes? Like I have been in Mumbai. I go down, just let me ask a layman, a vegetable seller or anyone walking down the street. I will ask him, do you use water leak app? I'm pretty sure it's going to say no. There are thousands, millions of apps out there on the Play Store for all these things. But what's the visibility? Why are not people using it? Why don't we have the reach of the Facebook and the Instagram on these apps? That's the second question that we need to answer at the end of the day. We can do advanced stuff, we can do analytics, we can use machine learning, AI to generate predictions. But if the general public do not use it, if the general public is not going to be aware of it, how is it going to be useful for our cause or whatever work we are doing since so many years? That's the second question I want you guys to think about before we move forward to any ideas, any brainstorming that we do for the day. Then these are the possible solutions that I want you to think about. Like, how can we address this? So this is a simple comic I have put up there. It's basically about digital marketing. And basically, it's just a comic, but the last part of it is the most important part of the comic. It's the lack of engagement. We basically, especially I feel in water sector, lack the engagement with the general public. So how can we do that? I would say connect with audience as per the demographics. What do I mean by demographics? Let's talk about the youth today. We know the youth today are using apps like Instagram, Facebook, and thousands of social media apps out there. So how are we connecting with this audience? So the first thing I want to start with is connect with audience as per the demographic. As I said, we know the youths today are on the social media, but I would say many of the water organizations do not use this social media effectively. Let's just talk about all the people that are there on this platform. I guess each of us of the organizations that are here would be having a social media organization. How many likes, how many engagements, how many comments do we have on a post at this moment? That's what I would say is the engagement that we are driving from the audience that we have. In fact, I would say, a Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, or something else has greater engagement on the platform than, our platforms would be having. Because I would say we lack very significantly in the social marketing sector, where we need to pitch this idea that, water conservation is the need of the hour, or something like how can the audience in the everyday life go on using simple things to, bring about water change. So that's my first question. Are we connecting with the audience as per the demographic? Second is involve the people for the people cause. Are we involving the people for water conservation? Who's going to benefit at the end of the day? The humans of this world, right? So are we involving people in this cause? Are we making them go out and do something? Are we driving them to do something? I will give one very simple example of this. The people do not even have to move out of the house to be involved in this. We were in Mumbai, and we have this forest area called RA Colony, and the government decided to just bulldoze some part of the forest area for building railway sheds and all those things. In fact, they may not be bulldozing a forest area, but that was what was the talk of the hour, that they may bulldoze a forest area. So what did we do at this point? So I worked for an organization called Enroute Mumbai. Enroute Mumbai started something called Let India Breathe. Now, Let India Breathe had a very simple agenda. We basically got all the tenders, all the contracts that the government had about, that specific project. And we basically used social media and gave it in the people's hand and let them decide, like, go through the contract, read it yourself, and you decide, like, if this is what is going to happen. And if so, we gave them an email point of contact to directly send a mail to the government and a format of the mail, like how they should basically talk with a government organization about a particular topic. Now, at the end of 1 month, we basically had 2 lakh emails sent out to the, I would say local municipality. And basically, the local municipality came to us and said, you need to shut down your website. We are facing news inflows of emails, and basically our servers are lagging. But basically that caused them to address this situation in hand, that people are concerned about the forest. That's the same thing. When we talk about water conservation, we can basically send, I would say many a times contracts, government projects related to water and all those things is hidden behind a wall of bureaucracy. Normal laymen won't go out there, click on these websites, thousands of hyperlinks, redirects, and then open a PDF file. But however, if we bring that PDF file in the hands of the people using social media or some easier format, it involves public. They feel like they have been involved in a decision making process. So that's my second point. Involve people for the people cause. We need to have simpler ways to bring decisions in the hands of the people. And the last point is use data for smart decisions. So as my topic was data analytics and GIS data, I'm basically going to show how we can do that now. So sample use case finally is the topic of what I was going to present. So this is a simple visualization that has been created using the Stanford's resources and the Californian Natural Resource Agency's data that they collect about water. So not because I feel this talk is not going into the depths of the technical part of it. So in simple terms, I've used Python data from the US government and the maps to basically visualize the groundwater level for the California. So here we can see basically I've plotted out for fall, I think for 2021, September to November data for the California groundwater level. And basically it highlights the water levels. So GW stands for groundwater elevation to the water levels for the different parts. So the red area, the yellow area basically highlights the places where the groundwater has been pumped to a greater extent and is now facing groundwater shortages. So yeah, so this is the visualization part of it from data analytics point of view, how we can use data to effectively map out and map or make decisions about areas regarding governance and all those things when we want to decide like where do we need to restrict groundwater pumping and all those things. So yeah, that's from the data analytics point of view. That's all from my presentation today. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them.